Yo, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to NXT Round Up. It is Piers Austin, and with myself once again, Mr. JT Robinson. JT, welcome back.
Thank you. Welcome.
Cheap plug there for the sponsor. Give it a plug. Go on.
Mate, it's good to get hard to find a good beer. And today we found a very good one thanks to the Wayward Brewery. Definitely check them out and have a drink. I'll see. I bet you before you got all your sponsors in. Look
There you
at
go.
that.
Go and check it out. Tell them JT sent you. Put your
Definitely.
beer on JT's tab as well.
No,
But
don't do
guys,
that.
before we go any further, we'll take a quick second to thank those sponsors. First up is healthvape.com. Healthvape is your healthy vaping alternative, ladies and gentlemen. All of their products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals. They help restore the energy while giving you the vital boost you need to get through your day. Guys, please go and check out healthvape.com. Check out all their vape and pod products. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Also, make sure you go and check out sleefs.com. That's SLEEFS, sleefs.com. This is your one-stop shop for all your athletic wear. They've got armbands, compression pants, compression shorts, compression socks, headbands, boots, mouth guards, and they've even got these dirty boxes, JT. And I've got to tell you, these dirty boxes are so freaking comfortable. They've got amazing designs at the front. Definitely going to keep your partner entertained when the belt buckle comes undone at the end of the day. But guys, go and check out Sleeves. Check out those dirty boxes. Use that promo code MWAPOD for a 10% discount on your final purchase.
What a pro.
What a pro I am. I try my best, man. I try my best to hit all the spots at the right times. But dude, NXT Roundup, bro. Like this show, I sat down and I watched it, and it was like an hour and 37 minutes. And like I was an hour in, and I was just like, what the fuck is going, like, you know what I mean? Like it just, that first hour just went by and it just seemed like nothing really happened in 50 minutes.
I was probably there about 5 minutes in, so that was cool. It took you an hour. Yeah, I don't watch it. I don't, like I said, the last show I watched was the last one that I watched with you. And that's how regularly I'm watching NXT. So that makes it hard. So it's unfair for me to be too critical about it. But yeah, that first match, that was something different. It was the structure of the match was really interesting to me. It was cool, but it was just different, which is probably what made it cool to me. But it was definitely not a fast pace. We're going to see some really good wrestling. These were a lot of showcase matches on this show.
Yeah. I actually felt like the Creed brothers gave too much in this match for what
They
they've
gave too
been.
much.
I feel like that for the way that they were being built. I felt like the one Julius, the one with the dark hair, I felt
Yep.
like he was getting thrown around a lot, and I'm like, this guy is
Yeah,
massive. Like, really?
there was a little bit of that. Like I noticed in that match, such a starting. Yeah, so it was really, the structure wise was really weird. That normally in a wrestling match you're going to see, especially a tag match, and if it's a long tag match like this one here was, for 2022 times, it was about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You'll normally see like the bad guys get on top and the good guys make a short comeback, and they'll start bopping and bipping the bad guys around the ring. Then they'll get cut off and they'll build back up to the next one. That's a really big one. They did that, but there was no bipping and bopping of the bad guys. The babyface would sort of like get out of the move, make the tagger straight away. The Creeds would go straight back and beat the shit out of the other guy that came in the ring. So that was interesting. But yeah, like I can see why you would think the other guy was getting, Julius was getting a lot of offense against him, because it sort of was built that way. But Brutus was getting most of the offense and he wasn't taking too much at all. And then when
Yeah,
Julius
right.
came in, he took a couple of things. Yeah.
But it's even funny because like this match was a babyface match.
Yeah, see, like that's the thing. I don't watch it enough to know who's baby
Yeah.
faces and heels. I just gathered from the fact that the Creeds were beating the shit out of them, but they were the heels.
Yeah.
Until like later on with the promos and stuff with where they're doing the Diamond Mine sort of stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like they're not all heels. It's just Rowdy's a heel. and the rest of them are sort of baby faces. Yeah.
The rest of them are trying to be like, hey, can we just be chill? And Roddy's like, yeah, the staunch one of it. Yeah, look, for the most part of it, I did think that like Brutus did sort of just come in and sort of get the shine at the end there. But you know what? That wasn't the only match that I saw that in either. And I'll get there and we'll get to the main event because the main event to me, I just sat there and just went, what was the point of that? Like the ending of that, and I want to get your thoughts on that, but we'll get to it. But we see a backstage thing with Cora, Indy, and Roxanne. With a segment there. What do you think of that?
I like it. Like I like the fact because again, I haven't watched it for a while, but I think like this, I still follow, I still read the results and all this sort of stuff. But I think that other than Indy playing with her ring the first couple of weeks after those guys got released, I don't think she's actually referenced them, has she? As far as like,
not indirectly. Like it's been sort of more like her just being down, like, oh, everyone's left me.
Yeah, and then so like it was funny to see that, but it was also cool at the same time. It's like, oh yeah, everyone has disappeared since I watched it last. So but yeah, so like that was cool, and just to see what was happening with Indy there. Like I was expecting her to turn based on the way they booked this stuff, but
Yeah,
it was
same here.
but yeah, like it was cool to see, like just subtle sort of stuff, like dropping that sort of stuff, and then seeing how she's going to meld in with the other girls, and go. So yeah, I thought it was done like for what it was, like a quick insert segment. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I thought it was as well. And you know what? I find like Indy so entertaining, and the
Yeah,
one thing I wish they would do is give her a better entrance theme because it just
yeah,
seems so generic. You know what I mean? Like have something that matches that of who she is, which she is a very entertaining, very sort of lively, bubbly character. And I think that would be a cool thing to sort of just incorporate the music into that to extend that character, which I think at the moment as well, she's in that transition phase of becoming a heel. I actually put in here, I had the thought of that she was going to turn heel during the match and like when she came in and sort of cleaned house. But we'll get there to the main event shortly. But Tiffany Stratton
Oh,
versus Felon. Did I miss something?
you missed something very important. You missed the Apollo Crews eating in a
Oh,
restaurant, and you know I think, does that make Apollo Crews a heel because like he beat up the customer, and then that waitress, he didn't tip her after he beat up the
no, he
customer.
didn't.
So she's relying on tips, and Apollo Crews just comes in and beats the shit out of this guy, and she doesn't get
Now
the
she's
tip.
got to clean up the whole mess and everything.
She just
It's
can't feed a family. It's like what's he thinking?
oh,
But yeah, so um, that was pretty cool. But like it was different to see when they did the replay and then he came back and did it, or maybe that was just my stream that I was watching, but he did it twice.
no, he
But
did. Yeah,
yeah,
he had like a. But I think it was like him dreaming in the vignette and then going and back and actually doing something. But you know what? It's interesting with Apollo because I feel like like I'm not sure if you saw what he did on the main roster with his character change.
yeah,
I think it was last year. Like that to me was like some of the most racist shit that I've ever seen. Like it was like, you know what I mean? Having him come out with a spear was just like, you know what I mean, too much. And like to me, looking at that now and seeing how they've like changed his character kind of back to what it was prior to that is like, okay, you know what they did? That was a punishment for something. He refused to do some storyline or something like that. And they went, okay, no worries. You're going to be, have to do this gimmick for a year
I don't
or 6 months.
I don't know. Like I get like you hear the stories and stuff like that, but I think that would be very hard to be able to drop on someone these days, especially that, and like not expect something's going to come back to you later on. Like he's still. I like yeah, I'd be interested to know what part he played in that and wanting to do that as well. Because like I think all the stories you hear about that company and things that go on, I think it would be really hard in 2022 to go up to a guy there and say, hey, you're going to do this and you're going to talk like this without him having some kind of buy-in on it. But yeah, it was definitely a change from the happy, smiley, hey, Apollo Crews is here, arms out in the air and celebrating to the crowd, to being the guy from Coming to America. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was like I just felt it to be a little bit off-putting.
Yeah.
But like seeing him return and like, I just hope that they're not like if they're going to do something with him in NXT, like what I see happening is they're going to just feed these guys to Braun Breaker over. You know what I mean? Like Dolph Ziggler comes over, he puts Breaker puts over Dolph then obviously puts over Breaker. He gets the title back. And I kind of see like, they're gonna give him like a Goldberg style run where they've got these guys they're not really doing much with on the main roster. Oh, okay, we'll send him down and do a program with Bron Breakker. Obviously, it's good for Breakker because he gets that experience with people that are like veterans and been doing this for a long time and very good at what they do.
No, that like to me, that's what they should be doing. Like if I've read something, and again, you read it, you don't know what truth there is to it or anything like that. But
Sure.
if minimum salary on the main roster is $250,000, and you've got these guys that are sitting around eating catering and doing nothing, and they actually want to work, why not send them to NXT and let them do something if you're not going to use them on the main roster and do stuff on TV and go down there and try and build the stars, like on a much smaller scale. Like we try to get our more experienced guys to come down and work with the newer guys and try and do things there as well, because I think it's important to have that. And if you've got guys like Apollo and Dolph that like seem like they still want to go and still want to work, but whoever the powers that may be on the main roster on Raw and SmackDown don't see them as having a place for them because they're pushing other talent, put them in NXT, let them work.
Yeah,
I
why
think,
not?
and then Braun, if Braun Breaker ends up being the recipient of that help, then that's good. That creates him. So then maybe in 10 years' time, 15 years' time, he might be the guy coming down from the main roster to NXT and helping out and doing the same role.
Do you think it devalues though? Like if Apollo comes in and he sort of has a feud with, which it doesn't even look like he's going to have a feud with Breaker after this show. Like, you know what I mean? You sort of see it's going to be like Cameron Grimes challenge as the next challenger. But like, do you think that they're actually going to put him back down for a decent run in NXT, or do you think it's going to be no? Let's just feed him to Breaker and get him to do like a program with him.
I think it'll just depend on how he gets over the crowd. Like if you look at, even going back, I don't know, I'm shit with times, but if you go back a number of years, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd went down to NXT before it became the indie place. They went down there and they, basically repackaged themselves to where they got over. Like as I'm sure Cesaro's going to go over anywhere, but they got over, and then based on that, they put him back up on the main roster and did something with him. So I think even a guy like Apollo, if he came down here, he got a few wins under his belt, even if he been lost to Braun or to whoever. As long as he gets that character back over again and people start seeing him as a serious wrestler rather than the other character that he's been playing. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Then
I agree.
I think it just lifts him and makes him better, because like it's either that or, like I said, if you're sitting and catering, doing nothing, and you actually want to contribute, you've got to find those opportunities and fight for them and make them work.
Oh, 100%, absolutely. And I think why have guys sitting around, have them out working? Like, yeah, obviously sending them to the Indies isn't going to be the answer. But when you've got NXT and NXT UK, why not branch out and start using these guys more often?
Yeah, definitely. Like that's always been something that's puzzled me. Like I guess like one, it's the talent and their lifestyle as well, especially for NXT UK, being that they're only like, I don't know what they do now, but prior to COVID, it was basically they'd open for a week, film on their TVs, do the training, and then they close up again for the next 3 weeks. It wasn't something that was continually open. So
Yeah.
whether whether they want to put that level of investment in there and whether the talent wanted to go there, it'd be interesting. That's why I always thought something like NXT Australia would have worked well, because I'm pretty sure the talent would have loved to have come to Australia and hung out on the Gold
Oh,
Coast and trained. Like that was a big part of the appeal back in the 60s and 70s when the wrestlers coming out here. They'd go to Hawaii, work there, stay there for the summer, then they come down to Australia once to cool, live up in the warmer climate down here for 2 or 3 months, and then go back to the States for summer there.
yeah.
So
Just
like
chasing summer year round.
yeah, like it's. I'm sure if the talent wanted to do it and if they wanted to put that level of investment in there, like I've always just got $250,000, $500,000, $1 million talent sitting at home, in their apartment by the pool at the hotel. I'm sure they love it. But if they've done it for a reason because most of them want to work. I'm sure they jump at it.
Oh, absolutely. Why wouldn't they? You know what I mean? Like, get paid well and live in live in another country and experience lifestyle and everything like that. But moving on, Tiffany Stratton versus Felon Henley. This isn't like it's interesting because like Tiffany Stratton is the heel, but she got like the baby face came out with two dudes. And then also someone else came out and caused a distraction for Tiffany to get like that kind of seems like heel, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know, heel antics got heel, I don't know, got the heel beat. Like, I don't know, like it just,
there are no faces and heels in wrestling anymore. Don't you know that?
yeah, I'm starting to learn that.
Yeah, the WWE should have taught you that over the last 20 years. Um, they don't exist. I don't know about you, but I was so hoping when they showed that wide shot and you could see the person on the jumpy ball in the background. Having seen clips online, I was so hoping that was going to be Wahlberg hopping around, but unfortunately not. The shirt wasn't as colorful. But yeah, like it's just really weird how they, like I said with the first match too. It's just really weird as a casual viewer, which is what I probably am for NXT, as a casual viewer, but they don't have those really defined, clear characters that you can just tune in and go, okay, cool, this guy's an asshole, or hey, that's the pretty mean girl, or that's whatever the stereotypes are. There's a reason why things are stereotypes. I know people don't like stereotypes in
No,
2022, but there's a reason why they're stereotypes in the first place. And rather than running away from them, especially on a show like that, you should really, I think, draw into them sometimes.
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the match in itself, like it just seemed like there were certain spots that just seemed a little bit off. Like the weird submission where like her ass was in like Fallon Henley's face. Like I was just like, that's just all right.
I
That's
don't know, but if you've ever had someone try to push you down when you've got your legs in the split and try to stretch you out, it hurts. So I could see why that submission will work. The ass in the face, I normally do it pushing them on their shoulders instead of having my bum on their back. But
yeah,
it hurts. But yeah, it's weird. Like, but I guess like the commentary for that one there, like I was early in the show, so I was paying more attention. They'll try to put over the same as what they were doing as a bit of a theme through the show about her being an athlete, being a
yeah,
gymnast. That's
gymnast.
why and that's why she's got the flexibility to do all that sort of stuff. Definitely an interesting finish or move.
Mm.
But yeah, like and the other one she did was the senton over the top where she jumped up and onto her knees and then rolled forward into the senton. That was pretty cool as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely I think she's really athletic. But also like the character as well. Like I dig the character. Like I really
yeah,
enjoy it. Because it's sort of like because she, you know what, she pulls it off well. Like the facial expressions. Like she seems to have really, you know what I mean. Like she seems to really understand her character and really have it, locked in. For someone who doesn't come from a wrestling background, she comes from a gymnast background to really sort
yeah,
of embrace that character and the gimmick like she has. Like I think she pulls it off brilliantly.
yeah. No, like you could tell from the at the very start of the match, like where she played the coward and got out underneath the rope and all that sort of stuff too. I was like, all right, like if she's not a fan or not that, someone's coaching her
Yeah.
really well on how to get the stuff down and how to put a basic match together and get your shit over. So yeah, from that point of view, she did well. And like I hadn't seen it since the last show I saw with you. So Fallon, like I had Nydia. I thought it was like Nydia and Jamie Noble were back, but but yeah, with Fallon, like I thought, last time I saw her, they were doing some angle where one of the guys was injured or something like that. So like again, not
Yeah.
consistent on the storyline. So maybe I missed some things in there, but she was good too. Like they're all good. Like that's the one thing I can say about the show is like there wasn't for what they did. Maybe the storylines and the characters and that sort of stuff are off, but the matches were actually really good.
Yeah, I mean, like the in ring, you can't fault with a lot of it. You know what I mean? Like, certain things, like you said, the storyline, the gimmick, the characters can sometimes be like, what's going on there. But like I thought overall, like both these ladies, both very athletic. I think they put on a decent match for what it was, and also for what it was also meant to be, is to also get Wendy Chu over in the finish as well. So you know what I mean? Like it worked well. I just think the two guys coming out, with Felon Henley, just you know what I mean? Like come out at the start, but then be like the baby face going, no, guys, I got this. It's all cool. You know what I mean? Like leave them with the sort of entry, and then she goes out and has that. I think that would probably, I don't know, it would probably add to her entrance as well, add to her gimmick of her just being like, no, I got this. And I think it would also add to her gimmick and character as well.
No, definitely. Like I think, it's definitely something she could have done, and just to show that hey, she's doing it by herself, doesn't need backup and all that sort of stuff. And it just, it takes away the awkwardness of those guys coming out with her for the entrance, and then not being seen again.
Because that's the thing. They're at ringside, but they're just like, oh,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
they're not gonna attack the other girls. So, yeah,
right. So but it is what it is. Then we see a Cameron Grime segment, which I thought this was a pretty cool segue segment as well, because it kind of segued into two segments in one. Cameron Grimes is backstage. He's being consoled by a couple of people. He's like, hey, I'm not looking for sympathy. Walks on into Bron Breakker. Same sort of thing. Yeah, I'm not looking for sympathy. He walks off. In walks Duke Hudson. Now, Duke Hudson, like, I don't understand. Like, this guy should be a main event talent. Like, straight out. Like, he belongs in the main event. He's a heel. Like, he's the sort of guy, as a heel champion, you could have him have a very long run with the top title, and you know what I mean. He could be the most hated man in your company.
Oh, like definitely. Like, what is he? 6'6", jacked as, hell of a Fortnite player. Like he could definitely like be a top guy there, as just from look alone. And then like obviously knows how to work as well, which is good. Always a positive in wrestling. But yeah, like I think what's probably hurting the most is, again, watching in and out, dipping in and out, is that every time he does something and every time I see him, the character seems to be different. Yeah. So whether that's him or whether that's them fine tuning it or not, but yeah, like as a physical specimen, yeah, he's like someone that you would think they would love, and want to make their champ, or at least one of their top guys.
But and even that's the thing, like his gimmick and his character for what he is now, like he had the sort of poker gimmick, which I thought was just like it kind of like, why would you put that gimmick on this dude? Like, you know what I mean? Like, really make him a poker player? Like, I think, this guy is one of those people who looks like an old school professional wrestling champion. You know what I mean? He looks like the guy who is like the like the Ric Flair caliber, and also, like I think his gimmick and his character is that like over as a heel, that he's not going to get that cool heel heat. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to be a cool heel. I reckon he'll be a hated heel.
I reckon he'd be hated, but I reckon he can easily turn it, because like the smug stuff that he does is great. Like that's him, to be honest. But he's but no, like he's really good at, like he just portrays it really well. The same as what we're talking about with Indy too. Like the stuff that Indy was playing in the first segment there. That's her. I don't know if she still does it now, but if you follow her Twitter, when I first met her, that was her Twitter sort of stuff. Like, I'm the coach, I'm the teacher, sort of stuff, and she's like the veteran and all that sort of stuff. The smug stuff is him too. Like that's him. If you have like just a joke around with him and stuff like that, that's him, which is cool. Like, and I just see, I always just thought I'd saw money, and when he got signed, I thought they would have done a lot more with him. So see what happens.
Yeah, there's still a lot that they can do with him as well, but we'll get to the match later on. But I thought it was a good transition from one sort of segment to a next without sort of taking away too much time from the show as well. Especially with Bron Breakker sort of being involved in both and then turning. I thought the segment was put together really well.
No, definitely. Like, and I think that's the good thing about wrestling. Like I used to like that with with ECW as well. Like back in the day when I used to watch that, like I'm a huge ECW mark. But just from the booking standpoint, yeah. When you go back and look at the booking, you can see that kind of stuff in there as well, like through the matches. So like, that's how they transition guys. Like you transition Tommy Dreamer and Raven. That storyline would be taking place and then transition into everyone else's storylines. So like you'd have Cactus and the Sandman going at it, and then all of a sudden Tommy Dreamer and Raven would get involved in that one. Then Tommy Dreamer and Raven would get involved in another person's feud, and just seeing that transition is really cool when you can bring it together and make it look like it's just natural.
Oh, absolutely. Then Wesley on Zion Quinn. This was a interesting match. Like it's kind of like I don't know, like they had a match like about a couple of months ago where Zion like annihilated Wesley. Now Wesley's come back and got sort of revenge and got up on him in this match. I hope they do something with Wesley because I really think that he's got a lot of talent, and I think that if they can sort of get past like and move into a solid character for him, whereas I think right now there's not a lot of character there. It's just sort of like him going, okay, well my tag partner's left me. You know what I mean? Like now I'm getting up. You know what I mean? I'm becoming a little bit emo. Like what's the is it going to go full heel? Is it going to be like, because at the moment I feel like he's on the fence of swaying either way of being a heel or a face.
Depends on like again being, but I've been so off on what their heels and faces are. Depends on what Zion is, right? Because like I look at it, that was one of the few storylines I got based on the commentary and the way that they did it. But they had that previous, and I didn't see it, but they're talking about how they had that previous match. Wesley got the victory. Zion was pissed about it. And then so the match was basically Zion trying to beat the shit out of him for the entire match. And then all of a sudden at the end, Wesley got the pin again. And then they put over, this isn't a fluke. Or the first one wasn't a fluke. This proves that it wasn't a fluke. And he's starting up. So from there, like I would think that's kind of a babyface run more than something ready to turn. But who knows that company? I think they're just like to turn people for the sake of turning it to where it doesn't mean anything anymore. But yeah, so I think it's actually the start of a babyface run if I was thinking about it logically, but that's probably my first mistake.
No, look, for me, I just think that like with Wesley as a character, like as a performer, turn him heel, give him a decent heater to walk out to the ring with him with, and just give him a decent character to work off. And I think like almost like remember. Oh, what's his name? The guy Ezekiel Jackson used to come to the ring with.
Oh, no, testing my memory.
I'm like Paul London's tag, Brian Kendrick.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing, like the smaller guy with the bigger guy. I think like partnering him up in something like that could sort of benefit him as well. Cause I just think like as a babyface run as a character, like, is there much substance to him as a babyface?
Yeah, like all that time will tell, I guess. But like, yeah, I think with that, the only problem with that is they've got that happening and they've been doing that a fair bit. The small guy and the big guy, like you got Camilo in there as well. He's got sort of the same sort of gimmick, and I'm sure they see more. Even though Carmelo's probably the better performer, I'm sure they see more money in his partner because he's the height and he's jacked. Than in Carmelo, but yeah, like I think, and then like obviously you had for that while you had Grayson and what's his name, Sanger, yeah. So like you've got that, and then I think there was another one in there that I saw as well. Like with what's his name? I got it written down later on. Wayne Bloom's son. What's his name?
Oh,
he's on the show.
Yeah, no, I've got his name written down here somewhere.
This is why I don't review shows. I'm terrible at it. But yeah, so like Von Wagner, there you go.
Von Wagner, sorry.
Yeah. So I'm sure he'll have a little fella with him as well at some point, if he doesn't already. But it just seems to be what they do. So like I think the fact that if he just comes out and be the smaller baby face and starts getting these wins over these bigger dudes, bigger angry dudes, I think they'll start to stick and start to click with people after a while. It just depends on how long they stick with it. Like if they only stick with things like normal and do 2 or 3 weeks and then move on to something else because it didn't get over, then it won't get over. But if you stick with that sort of stuff and he gets the upset wins for a while, then maybe there's a chance.
Yeah, definitely. But after that, we see a Joe Gacy vignette telling us that we're going to see the Dyads are going to, run the day. This is like, I want to know who these guys under the hoods are. Like, I don't know if it's going to be like a surprise and it's going to be a tag team. The only people I think I originally thought it could be would be the grizzled young vets, because they haven't really, I don't really think they've done much with them on NXT, and I don't think they've been on many shows. So I thought that they were sort of going to use this as a way to incorporate them in another storyline, which I thought would be pretty cool because both those guys are really good performers. But we do see Dante, Chang, and Javier Bernal taking on the Dyad. I don't know, what is a Dyad?
A dyad is the piece of rope that goes from the roof to the ground and tied in a knot at the bottom.
Yeah. Right, and that's what okay, so this is what
did that sound convincing? Because I don't know what a dyad is.
Yeah, fair enough. I did. I was like, okay, shit, you're dropping some knowledge on me, JT. Yeah, so this match, it kind of was obvious who was going to be going over here, and I think the match served its purposes to sort of show off these guys, the Dyads in the hood.
I
thought it was decent enough.
Yeah, that's all it is. Like I said, it's just another showcase match so they can get stuff over. Who they end up being could be anyone. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the guys that are playing that role right now while they're under the hood. It could be anyone. But what happens with it later on will be interesting to see whether it is actually anyone. Maybe it's just 2 new guys we've never heard of, never seen before. And that's their way of just getting this character over. But the spooky supernatural stuff is always a tough sell. And even though it's not spooky supernatural, but it's about acceptance and all that sort of stuff, it's still down that same kind of pathway, I think. Especially when you make them wear the hoods, look like druids.
Yeah, it almost feels like they're kind of doing like a retro thing, because it did look like they were druids, and that's actually what them down is like Joe Gacy talking about his druids. But again, the promo after the match as well. Man, Gacy is so good. Like, this character that he does and portrays, he makes it so believable.
Yeah, like I said, I really liked it when it first came in. At the moment, not so much, just because I don't know. I don't know if it's him or the storyline. But when he first came in and he was doing the work stuff, I thought that was going to be heaps cool. And he sort of still is doing it, talking about acceptance and everything like that. But when it was way over the top and terrible, it just I know people like that, so that's why,
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, right? So it's but that's what I was looking forward to seeing, because I really wanted to see him sell it to people that were on board with it and being like, yeah, this guy's got a point. Just so when he does do the turn, eventually he'll be like, fucking suckers. But yeah, I don't know, there's definitely something to it. I just don't know. I haven't seen enough of it. I don't watch it regularly enough to know if it's my cup of tea or not, but I definitely like the early stuff more.
Yeah, no, I did as well. Do you think they would have told him to scale that shit back though?
Just depends, because even though I liked it, I like weird shit. So it's a really hard thing to get over, because if you're not into Twitter and woke culture and all that sort of shit, you're probably just thinking, what the hell is this guy talking about? Because everyone who's on that thing thinks it's a massive thing, but it's really only a microism of what it is. It's not. No one in real life actually talks like that.
No.
Or if they do, some people do, but
Pro
they entertain me. Yeah, I think so. All for the clout. But yeah, so it's but yeah, it's an interesting character, but I just don't know if I like it with the druids. Maybe that's the killer.
I think that might be a thing, but like I think because he's kind of got the character over so far, this is just a way. It could be just a segue and introduce a new tag team and get them over a lot quicker.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah,
like
like,
what they kind of like what they did with with the Diamond Mine and the Creed brothers. You know what I mean? Like brought the Creed brothers in, and put them in big matches very very quickly. You know what I mean? Like, so, and obviously putting him with Roderick Strong, it just made sense that these guys, okay, these are championship caliber athletes that belong in a champion. You know what I mean? Like a championship
yeah,
match, a believability to the story, I think, as well to adds to it.
yeah, no, definitely. And like, I think it's just about, yeah, like it's weird in the way too, but they keep putting these wrestlers as managers rather than just going, hey, why don't we just get some good managers? But you're right. Like it gives it some credibility there. But like I think the problem is like because Gacy was one of the debuts at 2.0, so like
Well,
he didn't
he's
have.
still wrestling. He just main evented the last main show for the title with Braun
Yeah,
Breaker.
so like
Yeah,
so like
he's had a good
he's come from so he's come from the start being in a new character up to that, and so like doing that now probably makes a bit of sense. Whereas like at the start, that's probably why he didn't have them with him when he first came in. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out as a casual
yeah.
viewer.
Absolutely. Then we saw Tony D'Angelo and crew with Legado del Fantasma. So the story in back of this is Legado del Fantasma took on Tony D'Angelo times and stacks, and it was basically whoever wins has to join the other
Join the team.
person's like criminal empire family faction thing. So basically D'Angelo's family went over and LDF had to join over with Tony D'Angelo. So this little promo thing in the ring, it's like, okay, they're setting up for it's going to be a maid ceremony. Like you guys are going to go from being associates to soldiers. It's getting like this gimmick to me. Like I think it was cool at the start, but now it's just like, all right, this is just enough now. Like,
Well, isn't which one is it? Two dimes or stacks? Isn't one of them about to get whacked? We'll go into witness protection program. I thought one of them got fired earlier this week. So
that's what, that's exactly what I thought as well. Like that was, I heard that, and then I had people in the States that I know that sort of are in the know there, and they were, I was like message them and they're like, yeah, we haven't heard anything. They're going like, this is super secretive. They're not saying anything, and I'm like, they're going. I said, what? And like, we're throwing around speculation, really, what it could have been. Like,
like
I
I
said
don't know.
maybe they found something sus about, like, kind of like a Lars Sullivan deal where like he's posted something
Who knows? Like
racially insensitive or whatever it may be.
I wouldn't even speculate. Like I'm sure whatever it is will come out. Will come out. But the way they were talking was, and I think he said too, like he'd be back, and other things were around him coming back. So I don't that'd be that bad. But like yeah, it'd be I just think it'd be interesting if they like they don't stick with storylines that long for 12 months. But it would make me pop and make me laugh if in 12 months time this guy came back in and they did, and the D'Angelo family was still going, and they were like, "Oh, where have you been?" And he's like, he's been on the lam. But yeah, like,
That would be cool.
but I doubt it's gonna last that long. But yeah, like that storyline was easy for me to follow. Again, like as someone who drops in and out, it was easy to see, and then it was really cool. Like just the eyeballs when he's taking off his glasses and like looking at D'Angelo and like just staunching up and that sort of stuff. So I'm again, it's one of those storylines where you're like, oh, where's this going to go? And that is something that interests me. Like if I'm asking that question, it's obviously got me. And just for that little bit of taking off the glasses and giving that look after something said, and then the little chuckling backstage later on after the match, those kind of things are always good for us.
I really like Santos. I think he's an absolute great performer. I've enjoyed his stuff since he's been in NXT. I think he could probably get like, I feel his booking could be done a little bit better. I think he could get a bit more out of it. Or get more opportunity, because I think he is that one of those performers who can perform at that main event level. and he's shown
Yeah.
that time and time again.
Well, I think this kind of stuff here, just getting that character over, and depending on how far they push it, they push it too far and it becomes a comedy gig, then it's going to hurt him. But if they can do it enough just to get him enough character, so people are like, oh, cool, like he's entertaining. Let me watch his matches now and be entertained that way.
Yeah,
Because there's always been like at least two kind of wrestling fans, right? Like there's been the wrestling fans that really love the pro wrestling action in ring action, and there's people like me probably more so that like the storylines and like the characters and the interviews, and through that, then I enjoy the matches more.
yeah.
So I think if they're the ones they're trying to sell to, then that's the best way to do it. Give him something interesting, give him a good storyline, and then people will watch his matches and be like, "Oh shit, that was a good match," and then they'll go out of their way to watch the matches and forgive the bad storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he's definitely had some interesting stories, but this I think is really sort of, I don't know, it's interesting to see. I'm with you. I hope they don't do a comedy act with it. The only thing is when they handed the microphone to Stacks or Two Dimes, and he put on that really fake Italian New York accent. Hey, let him have a warm up with me, boss. I'm just like, oh fuck.
It's that, and
They just don't let these fuckers talk, bro.
it's that, and like one of the other ladies, the one with Von Wagner, again, since how much I watch, I don't know everyone's name, but the lady who was with Von Wagner, she was doing like Broadway play voice, and I was just like, this is great. Like,
Yeah.
I get entertained by bad wrestling and bad stuff. So for me, it's the greatest.
Yeah, I was with you on that one. But yeah, look, I think the Tony D and the LDF thing, it kind of got a little bit cringe. Camelo Hayes and Trick Williams come out. To be honest, I think Trick Williams has become a better performer than originally. I wasn't big on him. I wasn't a fan of him. I don't know. I just didn't really resonate. I felt like his promos were the exact same thing every single week. Like him
Yeah,
just
so that's
reciting phrases and shit. And it was like there was no story he told in promos, I felt. Whereas I feel now he's doing that, or they're giving him a bit more.
it's probably the advantage of me not watching it every week. So when I've seen him, the few times that I've seen him, like tricks look really cool. Like it's been, and that's who I figured their idea of who the star would be more than Carmelo. But Carmelo's really good too. So like like you can't say anything bad about him. But like yeah,
Oh, no,
Trick
it's
is
great.
who I thought they would pick as being the star of the group, with Sean and Carmelo, the Marty. But I think yeah, both of them are doing equally well, and like they're a good package together. So they really complement each other. So it's good that they're doing what they're doing. They haven't done the whole trick turning on Carmelo to take the belt the minute that they start to get any momentum.
I think that's it. Like, is that he's had the belt once before and he's got it back, and I think now by having him as the champion and having him there as his hype man, I think like Trick Williams, like at the start, he annoyed me because I felt like it was, as I said, it was the same shit that I saw every week. But now, like seeing it sort of develop and go more in, I'm sort of becoming more invested. When I say I didn't like it, it was just more along the lines of going, yeah, okay, whatever. You know
That's
what I mean?
the
Like it wasn't, and them as performers, great, but it just felt like the story that was going on was like, yeah, not really.
that's the beauty of some stories, but like, and that's where it's tough sometimes. Like I keep making reference to me not watching all the time, but it is where it's tough. Like if you think about some popular songs that you've heard in your day, the first time you hear it, you're like, "What's this bullshit?" And then like 2 weeks later, you got it on your iPod, and it's like the number one song, and you listen to it over and over and over again on repeat. Whereas the very first time you heard it, you're like, "This is shit."
Yeah.
Like sometimes it can be like that with wrestling storylines as well. Like you're like, "Oh, this is terrible." Like these guys are dreadful. And then like yeah, through that repetitiveness and seeing them and going, oh, okay, cool, I can sort of understand this now. They start becoming enjoyable to watch. Um, that's less often than what normally happens is you just give up and don't care about them and fast forward for their matches. But that's good.
Which
Like
is
that
unfortunate because like then you miss out on seeing some good performers do their thing, you know.
you do, and but it looks like it's resonating with you, so that's good.
Yeah, no, look, I enjoyed the segment. I enjoyed the back and forth. And I liked, they're heels, but they're also sort of like coming out and, like I said, going up against the heel. Like I said, as you said before, well, there's no heels and baby faces there, obviously, but I like the fact that it is. You can definitely see heel characteristics in both performers, and they're both healing each other out. But I do see Camilo being, moved to a baby face. Obviously, him and Trick. I mean, like they've got those catchy phrases and shit. They're gonna have to capitalize on merch and stuff like that to really, and they're gonna have to move him as baby faces, which is obvious as well. So
Yeah, no, like it'd be a good act. Like I said, together they put on a good show.
yeah, then we saw Mandy Rose promo with Toxic Attraction. Same shit that they've been doing for 6 months, really. Like it wasn't any different to like it was no real different. It was just hyping the match for that night against Indy and Roxanne and Cora Jade. So what did you think of it?
Yeah, like the stock standard promo. So, but it's good. Like it's not the kind of heat that's going to be like, oh, I'm going to turn this off because I've seen it over and over again.
No,
It's
yeah,
like just like I can't wait for someone to beat them, sort of
yeah,
thing, which is what you want. So yeah, like it'd be it just set up that, like you said, it just set up that main event. Wasn't anything more, wasn't anything less.
yeah. Kind of like the segment with the other three earlier in the show.
Yep.
But then we see Duke Hudson versus Braun Breaker. I'm gonna let you take this one. What do you think of this match?
Quick. So goes against what we are saying before, as far as if they wanted to make Duke Hudson a star, probably not the way to do it. So probably this
Job
is a
him
lot
out to the
about
champion in 3 seconds.
yeah, probably this is a lot about where it is. But like like again, if they were after a couple of weeks storyline, they had it like he I don't know how long ago that was. I think it was like more than a month ago, but Duke beat him by a DQ or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But it gives them something to go through and say, hey, I beat you, I beat you, I beat you. And then he just comes back and shuts the loudmouth and beats him really quick. So then that leaves it open. Obviously, he's going off to Cameron Grimes, Braun. But, it also leaves the door open for Duke to come back later on and try and get his revenge if they want to go that route.
Do you think Cameron Grimes, the character, like we saw when he went up against Camelo Hayes, he referenced his dad and everything along those lines. And it just, this again, like now he sort of did it again. And it's the same thing where it's like he really digs deep on that, pulls on the sympathy heartstrings of the audience. I thought I thought his promo was great. I think Cameron Grimes is fantastic. Like I've really enjoyed his stuff since, seeing him on the Indies in the US years ago. Well, not on IWTV, and seeing him in Impact, and then obviously coming to NXT. I think he's great. I just feel like they're rehashing the same story he went through prior to winning the North American belt. And I just feel like they could do something a little bit different with this storyline.
It's probably just to build it so that way, when he doesn't succeed in beating Braun, that he comes back to that. He's been saying he wants to do all this sort of stuff for his dad. He wants to represent all this sort of stuff. And then if he can't beat, and he made the comments about, Steiner's dad as well. And then so like when he can't beat him, he's going to be like, the motivation on that for him would be that, man, I promised my father who passed away that I'm going to do this for him, and I can't do it. And then that builds up his anger, and then gives him motivation as to why he might then start taking shortcuts against Braun. So from that point of view, it's good that they're bringing it back, because like if they spent all that time referencing it, and that's when he won the belt. Now, when he can't win a belt, it gives you that motivation.
Here we go. Who's winning the crown race in France?
In Fortnite. Who's winning the crown race in Fortnite? It's Rose. Oh, mate. if you ever want to have a good fortnight partner, Rose is the man. He's carried me to more victories than Ricky South. One day we'll post some of these recordings we've got of Ricky getting very angry, calling Rose in a haste, demanding that he no longer win any more crowns for me in Fortnite because he is the better player, which he is. But I think if we did a tally right now, I'd have more crowns than Ricky South. That's all we need to know.
Oh, there you go. Shots fired. Yeah, look, I think that, you know, with Cameron Grimes, you know, he does pull on those heartstrings for it as well. You know, you're saying that you're not believing that Grimes is going to go over Breaker?
Nah, not at all. I think not in the first match anyway. I think maybe later on if they come back to it a couple of times, but I think definitely for the first one, which is next week, the Great American Bash. I can't see him going over on that one there, especially when Braun just lost the belt before. Yeah, that's how it is. The poor man's a cripple. We're gonna give him some time. Ricky South, rest in peace. He'll be back at some point. But yeah, so I think what you'll see is Braun will keep it. Like, it's too soon for him to lose the belt again, unless they want it. They got some dreams of him being Ric Flair and winning it 1,500 times, which I don't think is the case. But I think Cameron will lose it, and then he'll have that moment at the end of the match, probably, or on the TV the next week,
where
he I don't know if he'll be heaps heely out, but it might just be subtle. But I'm sure it'll be something along those lines there, where he's just like, man, I got to get this done. It might be 2 matches away, but it'll happen.
Yeah, I think it would be a definite way, because I think now it's like, yeah, he's not going to go over Braun, so why not give him a character change as a heel? Then he can sort of go and, you know, repackage him a little bit, or rechange the gimmick up a little bit, and give him a fresh sort of run with something else.
Yeah, like they did it at the start of the show when they had the insert promo that you were talking about before, where they linked it all together, where everyone's going, you know, giving their condolences and all that sort of stuff about him not winning the match. That all just lays it in, so that way when he does do it, it's like, oh man, you're not who we thought you were.
Yeah, exactly. Then we see a Diamond Mine promo backstage. You know, Roddy, you know, is being booked in a match by the Creed brothers. You know, he's telling him, you know, to be always ready. And he's like, oh, I can't have it. I can't in that match because I've got a sore ankle. You know, I can't do it. And they're like, but you tell us to be always ready. So like, we're always ready, right? And it's kind of like,
it's the best kind of wrestling. Like, it's, you know, you're the hypocrite, and that's great. Waller for NXT champ, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
possibly.
He was looking. Oh, we're gonna get to him soon, so I'll wait until then. But yeah, like I think it's cool. Like, it's just a cool character to have. Like, you always want to have that out. It's like, oh, you know, I could beat you. Oh, but this, or but that. And then it's like the but is always something that you're always going on about how good it is. Like, you know, I've got the strongest arms in the world. Let's have an arm wrestling match. Oh no, not right now. My arm's sore.
Can't right now.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff, which is always cool. It's always good heat. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think, you know, Roddy and like what they're doing with Diamond Mine, he's the heel, and he's got his, like, you know, protege, and the other 3 original members of Diamond Mine are like going like, nah, man, like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, they're starting to go more towards baby faces. It's going to be obviously a split coming very soon. And it's going to be interesting to see how they do the split with them, though.
Yeah, like, it's just good for Roddy to be there still and getting that time and being able to still be like one of the main characters on the show too, which is what I like. And then, like, just to see what they're going to do, they're going to have him have matches with those guys with the Creeds. That'll be an interesting match.
Oh, 100%. Like, I really enjoy the Creeds. I love, like, their style, like, of wrestling. I think it's really cool. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, how they incorporate the amateur stuff, but also just like looking almost like that real smash mouth brawl style of wrestling as well, incorporated to it as well, which that sort of brings the best of both elements, I think.
It is, but like the interesting element with that one there, when they actually had the matches, so Roddy's going to be the heel and they're the baby faces, how that works for those two styles, because obviously his style isn't that. Um, and normally the slow plotting, grind you down sort of style is normally more a heel style. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But like, yeah, right, conflict of styles is always a good match. So when they get there, it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I agree. Then we saw the debut of Giovanni Vinci.
Yeah, that was
You
interesting.
seen him before?
I have not. He looked familiar. Have I seen him before on something else? Has he? Was he still? Yeah.
He was Fabian Eichner, and he was part of Imperium.
Ah, that's where it was. Yeah, because I was like looking at him. I'm like, he looks really familiar. Like I've seen him somewhere before. So he's no longer a German soldier. Um, but yeah,
He's
it
an
was.
Italian model.
Yeah, it was interesting. Um, yeah, like it'd be. Hey, why not try it? It'd be interesting how it goes. Like obviously the wrestling was solid. Um, but the entrance with the finger point and the subtitles coming underneath it like it was in the movie. I was just waiting for the animation with the waves in the background that come across in the background while he's pointing and his name comes up and it looks like it's GTA or something.
I thought it was a vignette. I thought it like
Yeah,
legit when I'm watching the entrance. I thought it was a vignette, and I thought, "Fuck, that's a ring entrance. That's some cool shit."
yeah. So like it'd be cool to see how it goes and like what they can do with it. But yeah, it was a good match. It was a showcase match again, just for him to look good. And that's good. No, that's what it is because it's bugging me. I couldn't work out who it was, and I didn't want to Google. I thought you'd know.
Yeah, you know what? I actually, I love the fact that they mention nothing of like the previous gimmick, nothing of being an Imperium. It's just nothing about the split. Like 'cause it was kind of like it was a really random thing where he just walks out on his tag partner and then he leaves. And then he
Yeah.
comes back and it's like new name, and we're just like, yeah, this is the new dude. Like, hey, what's up, bud? Like,
It's an interesting choice. I think that's what we talked about last time I was on too, just about all the repackaging that was going on. So yeah, it's different.
but we get to Sola Sokoa in a backstage interview. Grayson Waller interrupts. Mate, take it away. What did you think of this?
Oh, it's fun. Like it's a good storyline. Like I said, I watched I saw the video clips from their match. And it was great. It's just, that's who the guy is, sort of thing, the headbutts and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, like he does the character so well, like, you know, and I really loved, I don't know if it was an Easter egg on purpose or not, but where Solo was like, "Do you want me to speak faster?" When Warbird, when I'll get his gimmick name right, when Grayson said yeah, he said something to him, and then Solo was like, "Do you want me to speak faster for you?" And I'm like, "Oh, like that's a play. That's got to be a play on the Australians because we speak super fast
Yeah.
compared to Americans." Um, and yeah, like that kind of stuff was cool. I really liked it. Like obviously I'm biased, but I thought it was a cool segment to set up a match later on, and just him again, the same thing with Roddy with the ankle, that sort of stuff. Grayson's realized he's talked himself into a match, and he's like, "Oh," and then had to convince himself, "Okay, yeah, cool, we can do that." So, but yeah, no, like it was cool. I liked it, and I like Solo too. Like I like that they're one starting to acknowledge some of the stuff. Um, his family ties and all that sort of stuff a lot more. But also just his look. He looks like a guy that can kill you. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
He looks like a badass motherfucker. It'll take your head off, and I think Waller as well. Like I saw the previous match that they had, and like him taking the headbutt, and it's just like, man, you know what? I love how Waller sells. And that's just one, like, I mean, like, I really enjoy when he sells because it's like, it's not over the top, but it's like enough to go, like, all right, I mean, that's cool. Yeah, it looks cool. It looks believable. It looks enjoyable. But like, especially then when he comes back with the follow up Sokoa to Waller, it's just then he just falls back.
Oh,
I think it's really well done.
it is, and I think that's the good thing now. Like people are starting to recognize, when he first came on there, they did it to all the Australians that have gone over there. They're like, "Oh, I don't know how to work and all that sort of stuff." Like they're judging them based off a 2-minute match that they've been given and doing that. I think Waller's proved himself over and over again. He knows that guy knows how to work. For a guy who was only getting to wrestle like 12 times a year for a couple of years before he went over there, he's at a level, I think, well and truly above many of the people there that have been, probably done hundreds of matches more than what he has. He's just really clever in his options and what he's selecting to do. And, the options that he takes in his matches, I think, just stand out. So it's good. Yeah.
I think as well, what he does makes sense. And I think he, know what I mean? Like, it's like when I mentioned his selling, he doesn't rush certain things. Like the headbutt as an example, he sold the headbutt. And then when Sikoa did the follow-up, he then sold it and took the time to sell the move. As like I see with NXT, a lot of the times it's very, okay, we've got this amount of time, so we've just got to, where sometimes selling can be not there in every single match, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, like the guy's a pro, so there's a reason why he's where he is.
Yeah, I agree. But moving on, we see Inofi and Malik backstage. Talking about getting ready, going for the club. They had the biggest night of their career, getting to face the tag team champions, and then Grimes comes in and just drops a bombshell on them and just fucking brings it back down to fucking, absolutely, bottom line. Telling him, hey, you fucking lost and you're going out to celebrate. Like, really?
Yeah. No, like it just adds to the thing, right? Like, so obviously he's in a down mood. Let me know how it goes, Joel. I will be there on Saturday. So, W Championship Wrestling, play at some theatre somewhere. Look it up on socials. It's there. But I'm going out on Saturday to check it out with a few people. So, one of the actors trained by our own Robert Eagles. Robert the Eagle did some training with one of the actors there. So, we're going to go out and check it out and see what that looks like. But yeah, where was I? With the guy's getting put down from Cameron. So yeah, like it was again just points you in a direction, and you don't know if they're always going to go in a direction. I like wrestling sometimes. Sometimes I like to not know where it's going, but not every single thing in the show. But sometimes it's really cool to know where it's going and just watch them play it to where it was going. So you're like, oh, that was cool. I knew they were going to do that. They did that. So the thing with Cameron Grimes is going to be he starts that slow heel turn, getting the character stuff over, doing this kind of stuff, and they continue with it. It's not a swerve to where he's going to break Braun and be his best buddy in 3 months' time. So it's cool just the way they're playing it there.
No, absolutely. Next, we got Two Dimes and Stacks versus Camilo Hayes and Trick Williams. What do you think of this one?
Again, like match wise, it was cool. Like I like the stuff at the end. Like it's being they only just did the match where they're going to join. But the other guys were going to join the family. Being they only did that match like a couple of weeks back, it seemed a bit early. It seems a bit early for them to break it up again already. But I think having that finish there and having them cost it, and then like I said, doing the gimmick again at the end where D'Angelo is berating them for fucking up. That's pretty cool. But it'd be interesting to see where they go. Where they go full out and just they brought him into the family. Now they're going to kick him out straight away, or whether this is just a tease, and then they actually end up working together. And
all right,
taking on someone.
You know what I'm thinking here?
Yeah.
We got Two Dimes and Stacks. We got the Italians Mafia over here. We've got Legado del Fantasma, the Mexican mob cartel. We've now got Camilo Hayes and Trick Williams. This is like taking me back to 1998, Los Barriquas versus 8-Ball and Skull and fucking, you know what I mean? Like, and now we're seeing Druids as well. Like, are we starting to see some storylines going back a couple of years here now?
I wouldn't be shocked if the same person's writing this TV that wrote it 22 years ago. But But you know, like it depends. Like I think some of that's probably just a coincidence, but I think it's like I said before at the very start of the show. And it's probably because I'm probably what would I be? I'll probably be about 10 years younger than those people. But stereotypes are there for a reason. And people see stereotypes and think it's all a negative thing. Stereotypes aren't always negative. Stereotypes are stereotypes because it's there. Like I won't give any examples because whatever I say is probably going to upset someone. But you know, there's the classic stereotypes that everyone's aware of, and just because you portray that doesn't mean that you know it's a bad thing or a negative thing or you're making fun or anything like that. So like I think the stereotypes of having the Mexican cartel guy, are there Mexican cartel people? Yes. Are there Italian mobsters? No, there's definitely not. So doesn't exist.
America.
The mafia, yeah, it doesn't exist except on TV at 8 to 10 p.m. on a Wednesday night when Tony D'Angelo, the Don, goes on TV and tells everyone all about the secret society. But but yeah, like there's stereotypes there. So like I think it's there. So like I think definitely the cartel and the mafia one made perfect sense that they merge them together and have them do something in storyline, and
Yeah,
then
I
maybe they'll
think
end
so.
up having, and maybe they'll end up doing something else. Whether Trick and Carmelo fit into it, maybe like you know, the other groups were trios. So whether they bring someone else in now to top up D'Angelo to have two guys in his stable, and they start doing a lot of what AEW have done with the trios, that could be interesting. You get some really good matches when you got a lot of trios around, like you know, our next match, trios match. So you get to start doing a bit more stuff with that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Pardon me. But look, I thought Two Dimes and Stacks versus Camilo Hayes and Trick Williams. Yeah, it was all right. You know what I mean? It was nothing really overly too flash, and most of this show was pretty much nothing overly too flash in a lot of ways. Like it was very much just like, all right, next, okay, done.
Well, that's the thing. Like the next week's show is their big show, for lack of what it is. Like that's they've pulled out one of the old WCW branded names and chucking it against it. So you know, Great American Bash. You know, so that's going to be the show they want to build. So this one here should have been more storyline focused than what it was. But the matches were solid, I guess. Like there was nothing, you know, same as the next match. There was nothing there, but it's like, oh, that's going to be when Stone Cold Steve Austin asked me on Tough Enough what's my favorite match. I'm not going to say Toxic Attraction versus Indy, Roxanne, and Cora Jade, but but you know, like they're still good matches. There's nothing there, but it's like okay, cool. Like, but it's not going to be something you're going to be talking about in 20 years' time either.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I thought the main event in the Roxanne Cora and Toxic Attraction, this is a match like where like there was moments in this match where moves looked off to me, like the
Yeah,
spine buster that Mandy Rose gave, like it didn't look. I don't know, though. It looked different. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, tell me from a trained eye like yourself. Yeah, am I off here or am I on the money?
I like unless I'm looking specifically for that, I don't look at it for like that sort of stuff. Like unless it's a massive botch or something like that that you can see where, like I think it was I left that out actually in the first match in the tag. Like you could see, I think it was Brutus. He was he had a headlock applied to him, and you could see the guys talking to each other for about 30 seconds, and then he's picked him up and dumped his opponent on his head.
Yeah.
Um, but like you know, you see that kind of stuff. But as far as moves being botched and all that sort of stuff, like you know, I probably didn't pay enough attention to see it enough. But it wouldn't surprise me. But like the other thing is too, you have to think about too from a production wise. This show was pre-recorded, and so if you saw a botch and it was if you saw a botch and they couldn't find an angle to play to fix it, then it mustn't have been great.
Was this show pre-recorded? Was it?
I'm pretty sure this was recorded last week from memory. That's why
Yeah, I thought it was live.
that's why Stacks or Two Dimes, whichever one it was that got released, was still on the show.
Yeah, because I was spinning out at that. I was like, "What the fuck's
Yeah.
going on?"
Yeah, they recorded. I'm pretty sure they recorded the double episode last week. You could definitely tell in the opening match. You could definitely tell because they definitely changed a lot of camera angles in there to get around stuff.
Yeah, right.
That's the stuff I notice more than the botches, and that then makes me think there must have been a botch when I see the camera angles start switching around and changing. But yeah, this was pre-recorded last week, I'm pretty sure. So, but yeah, so from that point of view, yeah, I wasn't watching it from that point of view to see did she botch a spine buster or that sort of stuff. But
Sure.
I think from that, but like that being said, like they all had a decent match, like for the show that it is. It's not going to main
100%.
event. It's not going to main event a pay per view that particular match, but all those 6 ladies could definitely get in there and main event a pay per view if they built the right story to it.
I agree.
So it's interesting. I didn't see them announce anything for next week, but are they doing like Indy versus Mandy and then the other two for the tag titles next week? Is that
Yeah, I
what
believe
six
that's
put?
I believe that's the play for it. For me, the only thing that really felt like off to me was the finish. Roxanne goes over, makes the tag. Cora Jade gets up, does the fucking like the senton off the top rope, then
Yeah,
walks over, tags in Roxanne. Then Roxanne gets in and just goes like gets in and just rolls over and pins her and gets the cover. And I'm like, then what was the point of having fucking Cora Jade do the finish? Why wouldn't Roxanne just hit her with her finish? Like,
it was really weird whether she hurt her on the senton or not because she really gingerly rolled her onto her back. If you watch it, I did notice that. Yeah, so she hit her senton and then you can just see like Roxanne barely touched her when she rolled her over and pinned her. So whether someone got hurt or something happened there, I'm not sure. But it was, yeah, you're right. It did look a bit strange. And whether that was because they were supposed to do something else or not, who knows? But yeah, it was a little bit weird.
yeah, like that was the first reaction to me was like I thought that Gigi Dolan was injured because that was the thing because it kind of looked like a little bit awkward and strange where she sort of just rolled her up and just sort of pinned her without doing anything, like no
That's what I thought.
attacking
Yeah,
offense, and that's where I think I hope she's not injured because I've enjoyed what Toxic Attraction have actually been able to do. I really think that they've actually started to garner a bit of heat from NXT in NXT because like they're starting to get the toxic trash chants in the crowd. But let me ask you this: do you think NXT pipe in any of the noise?
on that show for sure.
You know what?
Because it was
Fucking what gave it away for me, the beginning of the show when the crowd was cheering, I'm like, bro, that's not a crowd that size.
yeah, no, like definitely 100% on this show. I haven't watched it since the last one we watched. And the crowd, in fairness, the crowd seemed pretty vocal in that. But knowing that this was a pre-recorded show and it would have been like probably at least 2 hours, possibly even 3 or 4 hours into the taping, there's no way that crowd's going to be alive for that long. But you could definitely tell in spots, and like you said, especially at the start, you could tell straight away because that was my first thing because I watched about a second of it where they did the live open in front of the ring. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that's different. And then within like a minute or two, I was like, oh, that's right, this show was pre-recorded, and I could tell. Like again, that might be just my production brain working rather
Yeah.
than anything else, and the fact that I used to watch a shitload of WWF superstars back in the day, which is exactly how they used to film it and all the stuff that they used to do. Yeah, definitely this one here definitely had some piped in noise.
Yeah, like it's funny because like even at the start when I saw like the commentary at the ring and it's like the match is starting, I was the same way. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how far is the commentary desk, boys? Like, is it right?
I was. That's why I started looking because I was hanging for it to be a green screen. And like if you go back and watch it's on the network. If you go back and watch those '80s superstars, you'd have Vince and Jesse Ventura in front of the ring with the crowd behind them, and it was so obvious that it was on a green screen, but they weren't
Yeah,
actually standing in front on a thing, and it was great.
it's just
So I was
wavy.
hoping, yeah, I was hoping it was going to be the same thing, but the venue's set up so they could actually do that. And I was like, oh, I might steal that for a show later on. But yeah, no, it was cool.
Yeah, look, it was, as a go home show, like it was kind of, this show was kind of like, I don't know, it was all right for what it was. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there was anything too like horrendous about it.
No, like the show itself was good, but I think for a show that was supposed to build more for next week, like they had all the vignettes of, like, we didn't talk about them, but they had Lash Legend and a very interesting shot of what's the name, Nikita Lyons, that they kept cutting back to. But and then they also had Nathan Fraser as well, like this, all talking about how they're athletes and that sort of stuff. And they had little bits and pieces where they talked about the matches next week, but they really didn't nail down super hard what all those matches would be next week. I think they probably missed opportunities there. But as far as a wrestling show, sitting down and watching it for 2 hours, it was fine.
Yeah.
Again, it's not something that's going to make me come back every week.
No. As far as like they're going into the athletic backgrounds a lot, like they went into Lash Legends, like everything that she's done, touch base on Stratton in the ring, but also the, Nathan Fraser as well. I've seen recently that they had about a new recruits of about 20 people come into the performance center with all their like different backgrounds, and it was like no one from a professional wrestling background. It was all like, these athletes, like American, like football, gymnastics, track and field, all these different sports. Do you think some of these athletes don't know what they're in for coming in? Like a track and field athlete coming into something like professional wrestling, where it's, very, very physical and very, very demanding and grinding. Do you think they know what they're in for?
Probably not. They probably think they know what they're in for, but this depends. Like some of them, like especially got an athlete mentality. Like again, my boy Grayson is probably the one I'll throw back to. He is very much that athlete mentality. So I think whichever sport he decided he wanted to do, he'd do. Ricky South, like the same sort of thing. I think just the hard work that these top level athletes have will help them. But as
Yeah.
far the thing that will break most of them is when they have to start taking bumps. Um, the human body is not meant to fall to the ground like that. So it's really, and you realize pretty quickly if it's for you or not. If you start standing up straight when you're taking your bumps, or if your butt is almost touching the ground and you take a bump,
Yeah.
probably not for you. So yeah, I think some of them, many of them probably know what, assume what they're in for, but a lot of them probably don't. But I think, if they're top level athletes, I think they can apply it. I guess the bonus for us, but is also that through WWE doing that and not touching the indies, the indies are going to rebuild with all the people they've released in recent years,
Yeah.
over the last 2 years, getting back onto the indies and all the new talent coming up. The indies are going to be a boom in a couple of years' time. And what you'll probably see is WWE's attitude to, and I don't know, I'm just talking out my ass, but WWE's attitude to taking independent wrestlers will probably change in 2 to 3 years, because then they're going to
Like
want
it
people
did
to work
years
with all
ago.
these athletes. Yeah, yeah.
It
Because they're
happened
going to.
years ago.
So all those top indie stars will get signed up. The ones underneath at the next level, they'll come up. The top indie stars will be in WWE with all these high level athletes. They'll help them work better. Bunch of releases, and the circle of life continues.
The releases go to AEW, and then it comes back and back. But guys, that has been NXT Roundup for the week. Thank you very much to JT Robinson for being my co-host for tonight. Guys, make sure you go and check out our sponsors, healthvape.com and sleeps.com. Use those promo code MWAPOD to save 10% on your final purchase. Also, check out JT's favorite beer company, now sponsoring PWA's
Wayward Brewing Company at Campertown in Sydney.
Go and check him out, get a beer, put it on JT's tab. But guys, so long, farewell, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care. Peace.